magical season that has superseded every expectation will continue as the Spurs are headed to the NBA Finals. 111-103.
9 to noon.
Hi, Robbie.
Hey, bud. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Great seeing you at the racetrack yesterday, which triggered this idea with our friend Robbie Rosenhaus. Worked with us here at KFAN, also produced the John Justice show on AM 1130 KTLK. And Robbie is the biggest San Antonio Spurs fan I've ever met. And he's from, so you're from New York City. You love the San Antonio Spurs. How did that equation come about?
Well, when I was growing up in the 90s, everybody wanted to be either Latrell Sprewell or Larry Johnson or, of course, Patrick Ewing among all my friends. But me, I was big, I was tall, I was soft. So I liked to be David Robinson on the court. So I always emulated him, and then what a role model he was going off and completing his naval service. And I just took the big number 50, and then obviously they lucked into Tim Duncan at number 1 overall. He won Finals MVP at 22 years old, and I hope that Victor Wembanyama can do the same in a couple weeks' time.
So growing up in New York City with Ewing and John Starks and like maybe Mark Jackson, I mean, those were cool Knicks teams. How did you not fall in love with those teams?
I think it was more that everybody in my life kind of was on that bandwagon, and I just wanted to be different. I mean, growing up in New York, as we know, I was a Vikings fan as a kid, so everybody that I knew was Jets or Giants fans. And then we had, obviously, the 98 disaster, and then I was at 41 Donut, which was another disaster, and I got to see that with my own 2 eyes. Those Knicks teams were fun, and I will tell you this, PA, there is nothing that gets that city going, not the Mets, not the Yankees, not either of the football teams. And this Knicks team, it's been 53 years since they've won a title, and you can see all the hysteria that is kind of piled out into the streets, whether it be the celebrities, the fans, just everybody in that city has Knicks fever, and it's fun to watch from afar.
So, like one of the Spike Lee would be the atopic New York Knicks celebrity fan all the way back to the Reggie Miller days. But, you know, I've talked to Nordo about this off mic. Fat Joe is probably his favorite rapper all time. You're not a Fat Joe guy during this series, right? Because Fat Joe is like 4 rows behind the bench no matter where the game is. And I don't know what I like doing more, saying Fat Joe or recognizing Fat Joe is just a big fat New York Knicks fan, right?
I believe so. And I think the last time I had a Fat Joe was in the 8th grade school cafeteria. But no, he's a pretty good celebrity fan. And they got Ben Stiller and Tracy Morgan, but down in San Antonio, we've got a couple of professional wrestlers, Shawn Michaels and Mark Henry, so Stone Cold Steve Austin, so some wrestlers from Texas that are big Spurs fans, but we don't exactly have Celebrity Row like they do on the corner of 34th and 6th.
So Robbie, being from New York City, I would imagine you have friends and family members really pulling for the New York Knicks, which can make life difficult come Thanksgiving. Is that accurate?
Yes, it's accurate. And for a 2-week span, it was hard to deal with certain people here when the Spurs went up against the Timberwolves. But yeah, I mean, basically, my entire family and friend circle from back east are all Knicks fans. I have friends from high school that were hitting me up. I mean, it's the first time since 1999, these two teams have played, and it looks like both teams are going to be healthy. Back in 99, the Knicks did not have the services of Patrick Ewing, but it's going to be fun. And the best part about it for me as a Spurs fan is that this is just the beginning. This is as bad as they're going to be for the next 5 years. So even if they don't get this one, there's going to be many more opportunities, I believe, for this player and this organization. What
do you like about the coaching staff? You got, I think it's Mitch Johnson, and his main assistant, Sean Sweeney, went to Cretin-Derham High School here in St. Paul, and he's going to be the next Orlando Magic's head coach. So it's a very smart staff, a very respected staff. But Mitch had to take over in weird circumstances with Greg Popovich having to step down. What do you like about that coach?
Well, transitioning from Popovich to Mitch Johnson was always going to be tricky. And in the last couple of years that Pop was there, they actually kind of rebuilt everything where they traded off guys like DeJounte Murray to the Hawks for 3 firsts, like Derek White, who ended up winning a title with the Celtics, Jakob Poeltl to the Raptors. So they rebuilt the team kind of on the fly, and they got lucky in the lottery with all these draft picks. And they used this young coaching staff led by Mitch Johnson, who they clearly cultivated. He was down in the G League coaching the Austin Spurs. But you're right, Sean Sweeney, the local product, he broke down the Thunder a few years ago with the Mavericks when he was on their staff, got the Mavericks to a final. Now he's done the same thing with the Spurs in this group, and I think he's going to do fantastic things down in Orlando. But I think the 2 adjustments that they've made this year, one, they let Dylan Harper free. You can see as a rookie, he's capable of rising to the big moment. And number 2, Julian Champagnie has been a revelation. 6 threes in Game 7. They put him in the starting lineup, and they have taken off offensively with keeping the same defensive metrics. So they've really, really turned it around, and I'm so proud of the job that they've done.
Help me here, and maybe those who missed that Game 7. I don't like to miss Game 7s of NHL, NBA, or MLB postseason, specifically when it's a conference final or one step from the championship round. Now, I know OKC was down Mitchell, who's a key sub, and Jalen Williams. Okay, so that is a fair part of the conversation. But, like, how did your squad go on the road and beat Shea?
Well, I think Shea was the MVP of the game. He was the best player on either side. What happened was, towards the end of the first half, the Thunder were up by about 3 or 4 points with about 90 seconds to go. And the Spurs scored 7 straight to go up by 3 at the half. I think if the Thunder would have taken a 7 or 8 point lead into halftime, it could have been a different story. But we got to the third quarter, and that's when the Spurs defense really turned it up a notch. And then we got to the fourth quarter, and they just kept raining threes, whether it be Harper, Keldon Johnson with 2 big threes. And there was a couple of guys on the Thunder that either refused to take shots, like Chet Holmgren, or just kept breaking them, like Jared McCain and Caruso, who have been tremendous in this series and really couldn't throw it in the ocean last night, apart from a couple of shots. So it was the hot shooting, it was the good defense, and it wasn't really even Victor Wembanyama dominating. Like, yeah, his highlight plays are going to stand out because he's 7'6". But the rest of the team, Harper, Castle, the guts of the team, Fox on one leg, they really, really kind of pushed them to the victory, and it was the guard play and the Thunder missing guys like Mitchell and Williams that really cost them in the end.
So you're an elite sports mind, and specifically with basketball, you just get it in a way a lot of people don't. Why? And again, I didn't see much of the game. All right. So, like, why is Chet Holmgren getting beaten up on social media the way he is?
Well, this goes way back to when Chet and Victor Wembanyama played in international competition when they were, I think, 16 or 17 years old. And Chet beat him and got the MVP. Since then, Wemby has just been on a mission. PA, you've been watching sports for a long time, and there are very few athletes that can combine the talent and also the desire to win. MJ, Kobe, Tiger Woods. This guy is in that category. You hear his comments. They're so pointed and direct. He doesn't mince words. He's here to win, and he's also here to take your soul. And that's what he's done with Chet Holmgren. So I don't know what is going through Chet's head, but he can't compete mentally, and he can't compete physically. And frankly, that's not an unfair statement based on what we just saw for 7 games.
Robbie, something you said earlier. All right. Now, I mean, you know, from working around KFAN or working in the radio business, WFAN in New York, the game in Atlanta, out in San Francisco, stuff like that. Football always wins. When that term is uttered, it's wide ranging in the radio and TV business. Football always wins. So you're telling me when the Knicks are good and have a chance to win a championship, it means more to New York City and the state of New York than when, like, the New York Giants are good?
No, 100%. The Rangers are another team. It's just something about Madison Square Garden. It's something about those two fan bases. The Knicks won in 69 and 73. They haven't been back to a final since 99. The Rangers were in a final in 15. They won it in 94, but they hadn't won it since 1940. All those generations of New Yorkers that have grown up with the Rangers or the Knicks, when those two teams are rolling, as much as I hate the New York Rangers, just like our buddy Mark Parrish, I don't actually mind the Knicks because, to me, that is a team that has been through 20 years of absolute pain. The Rangers have been in the conference finals. They've had all these wins and a great goalie for, 25 years, but they haven't got it done. The Knicks just haven't even been there. So for their fans, it's like a revelation. And that's why the city is just completely on fire right now for this basketball team. You see all the celebrities. Like, it's just not the same. You don't see, Fat Joe sitting first row behind the end zone. You see him courtside at Madison Square Garden. So I think it's just a status thing.
Robbie, with your squad, your favorite team, the Spurs. So they close on Shea Saturday, and game one is Wednesday, which I would imagine with Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox and some maladies they've been pushing through and battling. Shoot, Fox missed games. That extra time's really going to help those two, right?
Yeah, it's going to help Harper, and it's certainly going to help De'Aaron Fox. I mean, you go back to a few years ago, and you see him in the playoffs against the Warriors, and it's a different player. I mean, he's playing on one bad leg. We saw it a couple of rounds ago with Ant when he was playing on a couple of bad wheels. Dylan Harper had an ankle, but he looks like he's healthy. The key injury for him was actually on the other side, PA, and that's Mitchell Robinson. He broke his pinky finger during these couple of off days here. It looks like he's going to be able to play with it. But he was a big reason why the Spurs had a lot of trouble with the Knicks during the regular season, why they ended up losing the NBA Cup final to the Knicks, and why they could have some more problems if he does play a significant amount of minutes. But again, that pinky finger is going to be something to watch. But you're right, though. The Spurs could use a couple of days off after a grueling 7-game series against Oklahoma City.
Karl Anthony Towns, does he get Wemby as the starters go? Then Robinson comes in off the bench. And what do you think of Cat with the Knicks into this series?
I think Cat is absolutely the key to the Knicks raising the trophy either at Madison Square Garden or down at the Frostbank Center. What he did last series against the Cavaliers, pulling big guys away from the basket, and the fact that he's going to be able to do that in the finals. I think they're going to put Wembanyama on hard, which is going to allow Towns to kind of roam around and do his thing. If he can get hot and he can really take over a game, he's going to be the one for me that is the X factor, because if you've watched Steph Castle play defense on Shea, it was immaculate. And I think they're going to lock up Jalen Brunson. I don't think that they're going to muzzle him. I mean, Shea had 35 in Game 7, but I do think his impacts will be limited, and I think it's more going to be the Robinson/Cat combo that's going to provide issues for the Spurs.
You like your starting lineup better than the Knicks? Because, I mean, Brunson can score and pass, and he doesn't play defense. But with Hart, Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Cat, I mean, that's a really nice starting lineup. No doubt about it. But I don't think that they have as much size or kind of experience as the Spurs do when it comes to kind of Fox and Devin Vassell, who was drafted 14th overall and has now developed into a really tremendous role player. Julian Champagne's been around a while. I mean, they just played a 7-game series that basically every game was Game 7. Yeah. And the Knicks have been basically on an easy streak to the NBA Finals. They have not been tested yet. So, a horse racing reference, like this is an unproven 2-year-old that's going into deep waters here, and they're about to face some stakes company. What do you think of Wemby? I mean, he's transcendent, right? I mean, it's like when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar rolled into this thing with the skyhook, that became transcendent. Wilt Chamberlain running around against a bunch of 5'9" guys wearing pants that were too short and too tight, scoring 100, that was transcendent. That's Wemby, maybe more so defensively than offensively, right?
I think you're onto something there where defensively, I mean, he did just win Defensive Player of the Year, and you look at who finished runner-up, and it was Chet Holmgren. Now, it's easy to compare them because they just played against each other for 7 games. But you look at what he does defensively and how he affects the game, basically from all angles. I mean, you don't have to roll guys to the weak side. You don't have to kind of fight through as many screens because he's going to be there. He is basically playing free safety. He's our Harrison Smith. I mean, he's sitting back there and just basically patrolling, and he's doing a tremendous job. You see these guys driving the lane, and they hit a huge 7'6" alien-sized stop sign, and they have to kick. And in some of these games, they were hitting the outside threes. The Knicks and the Spurs are the 2 teams in the NBA that make the most corner threes in the league, so you should watch for those. So I expect the Knicks to kind of target that. And the Thunder did a good job for a few games. But again, back to Wemby, it's defensively and offensively his game will grow as he fills out, as he starts to play more bully ball down by the basket, where he's not taking as many threes. I cringe every time he takes a three, just like Shaq does. I want him to get inside and develop that game that Tim Duncan did. So I think defensively right now he's ahead of offense, but in the future he's going to be an all-time great.
Lastly, Robbie Rosenhaus, your squad is minus 210 to win the NBA championship, and they have home court advantage. You think that you're good with numbers? You think that number is fair? And if you weren't a Spurs or a Knicks fan, which way would you play it?
I'd probably play the Knicks because they just have the momentum going, as much as I've just said about the Spurs, and it has to do with the odds. I never saw them as a 2-1 favorite in this series as much as in my head. I think they're going to win. I think it's more of a minus 150 situation. So if you're getting almost 2-1 on the Knicks and they take game 1, that line is going to drop immediately down to even money. So I would probably throw a couple of shekels on the Knicks, but I hope you lose because I want the Spurs to win. I think the odds are slightly inflated because I think there's going to be a lot of Knicks money coming in. Do
you like Golden Tempo in the Belmont Saturday?
I do not. I like a horse that he beat by 6 lengths, and that's Commandment. He had a slow start and a wide trip. 2 no-nos in horse racing. He won 4 races in a row with 3 stakes wins prior to that. He's got his 4th different jockey, so he's going to the bar looking for the right girl and has found my favorite jockey, Johnny V, 2-time Belmont winner. So I'm going with Commandment in the Belmont.
Good seeing you yesterday, Robbie. That couch in the CBY track flag is open for you anytime you want it, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, buddy. Bye, Nordo. Bye, PA. Love you guys. Talk soon.
See you, brother.
Love you too, man. Appreciate you. Robbie Rosenhaus, former co-worker of ours, biggest Spurs fan I've ever met in my life. It's 11:29. That was the Steve's Appliances Marathon segment. Steve's Appliances, despite Memorial Day being last Monday, has the Memorial Day sale that just keeps on giving, with fast delivery, free recycling, and guaranteed low prices on the very best appliances you'll find. I mean, GE, Whirlpool, and so on. Please go to the website, stevesappliances.com, and find a deal that suits you. stevesappliances.com.
Yeah, in addition, what else can 9 to noon do for you? How about this? We got this cool giveaway contest going on right now. It's a keyword contest. You're familiar with that. But the Fan has your chance to win $2,500. And all you got to do, you go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword birthday. What a gift that would be, winning $2,500 with the keyword birthday at KFAN.com.
This is 9 to noon on the Fan.
Nolan Teasley, new general manager for the Minnesota Vikings. The first 90 minutes of the radio show focused on that. A reminder, next Monday we will be at the Vikings facility, Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, and we will have an elongated sit-down with the new general manager, Nolan Teasley. I think Justin Jefferson also is joining the radio show that day. That's next Monday. But after chatting about Nolan Teasley, we opened up the talkback machine, took 3 really good ones early. We're going to fire through some now to see what y'all think.
What up, PA? What up, Nordo? Good morning, 9 to noon. Captain Charles, Capital City. Is that like the hire? Teasley, championship pedigree, bring it on over to the Twin Cities. I'm not going to lie, I couldn't pick him out of a lineup between Charch and Parker Fox, but I like it. Let's go. Skull Nation, man. And oh yeah, by the way, let's go Bodega Cat, huh? Rooting from afar. Bodega!
Charles got all the tricks.
Yeah, he does.
I didn't. I read part of Jim Souhan's column in the Star Tribune about Nolan Teasley, but like the headline that I saw that drew me in, Jim, very, very good writer, it was like, Nolan Teasley is a good general manager hire, I think.
Yeah.
Something like, and that's, and I'm like, that's kind of how I feel too. I mean, it's happened Saturday, chatted with some people about it. So they're just, it's the things that are going to be revealed within their covenant. Maybe not for the public, maybe not for the media. Involves things we talked about an hour and change ago. It's like, nobody's calling it the triangle of authority. In fact, it would be the square of authority if I had to lay it out.
It feels like a pentagon or a hexagon by the time you get through it.
Well, when it comes to draft and or free agent related decisions, or maybe other decisions that we just don't talk about enough, Kevin O'Connell is and should be part of every single big spot decision that's made.
Yes.
The draft felt like it had Brian Flores' fingerprints all over it, specifically with the first pick, Caleb Banks, and the safety from Miami. What is it, Jacoby Thomas? The
Miami kid.
Yeah, the Miami kid. So there are others too. Then you have Rob Brzezinski, where we talked about that a little earlier, where I'm like, my man gave up his chair as one of the most well-respected capologists in the history of the National Football League to a man named Matt Thomas, who's also incredibly well-respected, helped you through a transition time, went for the job, and got beat. So whatever his role is, executive vice president of football operations, what I think it is, well, he's part of that square. And then now you have the GM, Nolan Teasley.
Yeah.
So collaboration is a buzzword I fully expect to start hearing a lot with this press conference.
And where did Matt Thomas come from most recently?
He was in Seattle, wasn't he?
The Seattle Seahawks.
And didn't he take a year or two off or something? And like a bunch of teams tried to get him out of like short retirement. He kept saying no, but the Wilfs are not averse or afraid to spending what it takes to get what they want.
And it's also possible that relationships that Brzezinski has built, Matt Thomas is like, you know what?
Down to my point.
I can go back to the boat here in a few years, but for now, I'll jump off the bench and help out my guy Robbie in Minnesota.
For sure.
Hey, TA. Hey, Nordo. This is Darren in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I'm excited about the new GM. Like a lot of people are saying, he's not from the Vikings tree, which is a good thing. And new hires bring new hope, and that's where I'm at. Hope for a good season and hoping for consistently good draft picks in years to come.
With the focus or the direction taken by that individual on the talkback, and we thank you for listening to the radio show, the station, and offering talkbacks. It was posed like from a general managerial standpoint, to get this team from it's been good at times, it's been very good, but like the Wolves in the Wild just can't seem to get over the hump. I mean, they got to win a playoff game too. O'Connell's been to a couple of playoff games and we've lost them both. But like from a general manager standpoint, what can you do to take what is good and make it better? And my man played off that a little bit.
Yeah, indeed. Doesn't this feels similar to the way we've talked about it? So you have Mike Tice, offensive coach, doesn't like the way it goes. They move to a very different kind of person in Childress. They move to a very different person in terms of Frazier to Zimmer and now to KO. Similarly, the analytics nature of the background of Kwesi and the first, 4 or 5 years of Teasley's time with the Seattle Seahawks, specifically in scouting, worked his way up as a scout. Then he's director of pro personnel.
Yep.
The overcorrection, maybe it's not overcorrection, could just be correction, right? And Teasley's going to be awesome. But, to the idea of, okay, this part didn't work. We're going to jump to the other side of the spectrum. It feels like that's been a big part of this. To the talkback machine.
Hey, I'm not going to pretend that I know who Nolan was or that I knew who he was before we got him, but everything I've read about him seems like he knows his stuff. Obviously, he's been part of drafting really well, and the Seahawks have a very talented team. So what I'm hoping from this guy is just do the same thing. Just draft better than we've done in recent years, because we really need to hit on draft picks, build up this roster. We've seen what happens when you do that, and it's time for the Vikings to win one.
I like that.
Skol!
Right, and it makes sense, but I've kind of low-key shared this because I don't exactly know how to share it, but I do know it's important. And I don't exactly know who the person would be is. I know Brzezinski with Kevin O'Connell. And there are others with Kevin O'Connell, like the trainer, Tyler Williams, who won a Super Bowl with Kevin with St. Louis. When you're the trainer and you're the head coach, there are some closed door conversations about the way injuries are going. It's like, okay, so let me get this straight. So-and-so, not here, but I'm going to lay out an example.
Yeah.
So-and-so's cleared, but he's not, but he can't play. Can you unpack that for me? Or so-and-so wants to play badly, but I just can't clear him right now because of A, B, C, and D. So those types of conversations between trainers and head coaches are vital to culture. Another overused trite term that's not trite when it comes to the Vikings. And I've talked about that before, about the spirit returning to the building in 2022. And it's just a different situation that I really, really enjoy when I get a chance to be around it. But for Kevin cares so much and he works so hard that, I said it weeks, if not a month and change ago about the general manager situation. Is part of being a general manager for the Minnesota Vikings, for me, is, I think the head coach who takes a lot on himself could use a dog. What's a dog? It's a man's best friend. Somebody who's not the trainer where you got to work through bumps and bruises and things like that. Maybe not the head of media relations where you got to work through something strange on the radio, TV, or something somebody wrote, but somebody who can close the door and just ask him certain questions without it becoming confrontational. Ain't nobody here to be confrontational. I would just like to know what the motivation was behind this. And then talk it out as a dog. Just being a dog, man, is a man's best friend. And we'll see what role, personally Nolan Teasley has, along with Brzezinski and some other key facets of the organization when it comes to the head coach who, he wants to win a Super Bowl for this market about as much as anybody I've ever met in my quarter century calling games for this team. And having an extra dog, a man's best friend around, I think is only good news.
One more for you here.
Yes, sir.
Hey, good morning, guys. Bruce and Shackby. Now I have a question. How is Rob Brzezinski taking this? Is he going to feel snubbed and then be looking for an exit?
No.
And taking his cap wizardry with him? Oh, man, that's a concern. If you've got any steam on that, PA, give it to us.
Well,
give it to
have
us.
a good day.
Okay, I'm glad you presented that the way you did. Rob has been in the National Football League for more than 3 decades. I believe starting with the Miami Dolphins. And he's been with the Minnesota Vikings longer than I've called their games, and I'm heading into my 25th year doing that. So with Rob, to answer the question, how does he feel taking the L or being snubbed? I can't answer that because I have not talked or texted with him since this decision came down. What I virtually can guarantee is that it's Rob is not the kind of guy who's going to be like, bleep you, because I didn't get my way, I'm out. That's just not him.
Yeah.
So
he's probably not gotten his way a few times over the last quarter century.
Right. Maybe, and maybe we don't know about it. Fair point. But I do stick by what I said an hour ago, and having the Wilfs as stewards of this team, the owners of the franchise, that's good in a situation like this. Because seriously, and I don't mean to make this sound entitled, but if I'm Rob and I'm like, let me get this straight. You were in a tricky spot. I became the interim to help you through this, gave up my office and my chair to somebody super well respected in the capology world, then I take the L. And what do I do now? No, the Wilfs will have the wagons circled around that before they announce Nolan Teasley is the general manager. I hope it includes a nice little pay raise. I hope it includes some embracing, and we love you, and you're great for this organization, and you're the executive vice president of football operations. You know what? We got to pause, but I forgot to bring this up, damn it. I saw it a lot this weekend. It started at ProFootballTalk.com. I'm not completely positive the Minnesota Vikings have to give the Seattle Seahawks 2 third-round picks by taking their assistant general manager. Because you have to, when that person is identified as like the leader of the football organization from a personnel standpoint. But why isn't the executive vice president of football operations the leader who's already there? So I'm not completely positive that is fait accompli, that the Vikings have to give 2 third-round picks to the Chickens because they took Nolan Teasley. That's something that we need to look into after the show. Be right back.
You're listening live to Paul Allen at 9 to noon on iHeartRadio.
Final segment, post-game. Fun show on a Monday, by the way. Podcastable in about 20 minutes or so via the free iHeartRadio app. But cool guests. We found out today, turns out Robbie's the biggest Spurs fan anyone has ever met, and that includes Big Fundamental himself. But Alec Lewis talking about the news over the weekend that the Vikings had added general manager Nolan Teasley, former assistant with the Seahawks, now our guy. What does that mean? This was a pretty big hire, wasn't it?
Is really because of the infrastructure of this organization. Like, I think people around the league, really view positively what Kevin O'Connell and what this coaching staff can accomplish. I think they view positively the amount of resources that ownership is willing to provide. And I think, really, more than anything, it's like, can the Vikings get to a place where they have a process from a front office standpoint that is at the pinnacle and that can allow this organization to sustain winning? And so I think
that's Alec Lewis from earlier today in an EAS, an emergency Alex segment with the hiring and the new GM. And Pat Micheletti, we got game 1 tomorrow night, Stanley Cup final. It's Carolina Hurricanes and Vegas Golden Knights. And here's Pat Mick 2626 talking about just the Carolina Hurricanes. They've made the playoffs nearly a decade straight, and they've gotten so close, haven't gotten over the hump. Now they're here, and what's that all about?
I think what they've added is just more depth in their lineup. And if you look at their lineup, they're getting the majority of their scoring from their second line, which Taylor Hall has resurrected his career, and and might win the Conn Smythe if they win the Stanley Cup. He's been that good. But they've added players like Jackson Blake. They get the Stankoven kid, who Dallas had to give up for Rantanen.
Right.
And so they've added pieces like that. Their decor, they may not be your most, I don't know what word we're looking for, a fancy player, but they're 6 deep there. And
that's Pat Micheletti earlier during the 10 a.m. hour. Stanley Cup final upon us tomorrow night, NBA Finals on Wednesday. Should be a pretty cool week, PA.
And JoJo goes for the Minnesota Twins tonight against the Chicago White Sox. All of the Stanley Cup final games will be carried right here on the Sports Leader, FM 100.3 KFAN. For Nordo, I'm Paul Allen. May God bless you and all of your families. And thank you very much for listening to KFAN, if and or when you do. Dan Call the Common Man is next.
Temporary layoffs. Good times. Easy credit rip-offs. Good times. Scratching and surviving. Good times.
Time for 2 more.
Good times. Ain't we lucky we got 'em?
9 to noon.
Good times.
If it's good news or money, leave a message.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by USP.